Good afternoon. It's Monday, the 13th of April 2026. I'm Klaas Prinsloo and welcome to the Eysterberg channel. We're discussing farm attacks and farm murders for March 2026, and as you can see there at the bottom of the screen, a whopping 27 attacks and 5 murders. Compared to March last year, March 2025, only 16 attacks and 2 people that were murdered on farms in South Africa. The spread of devices that was used by the attackers: blunt object 5 cases, sharp object 7 cases, firearms used in 7 cases, multiple devices used in 3 cases. In 10 cases, the devices were not reported or specified, and there were no kidnappings either. Let's have a look at the provincial spread. As you can see there on the screen, Gauteng Province 9 attacks, 1 murder. Northwest Province only 1 attack, no murders. Limpopo Province 5 and 1 attack and 1 murder. Mpumalanga 2 attacks. Free State 1 attack. KwaZulu-Natal 3 attacks. Eastern Cape nothing to report, and then the Western Cape, bringing up the bottom of the spread, 6 attacks and 3 murders. Let's have a look at the cases individually. I'm going to do the 2 cases for Gauteng North simultaneously. It just makes it easier. The first one is the very popular 62-year-old Johan Barnard failed to make contact with a good friend of his on March the 26th. And his friend decided to investigate. When he got there, he got to the worst. It appears that the suspects breached by breaking off burglar barring and entering through a window. Johan was severely assaulted, and according to initial observation by the SAPS, suffered a gunshot wound to the abdomen, and it also appeared that his own firearm was used to shoot him. The second case was that of a couple robbed a couple of kilometers north of the first case. That was in Walwanstal, and they were held in their house on their small holding, and they were robbed of several valuables. The next area is Gauteng West Rural, and as you can see at the bottom of the screen, 7 attacks in that area. The first one was in Randfontein on March the 2nd, where Zelma Boyder was on leave for the day and she was home alone the whole day. She was found unconscious by her husband when he returned from work that afternoon at around 5 o'clock. She was in a critical condition, bound with cable ties, and apparently stabbed and had several lacerations to her legs. There was a lot of blood and an ambulance was summoned. According to her son, she had swelling on her brain and was sent for a scan. She was put on a ventilator, and it was not clear at the time if she suffered internal bleeding. Nothing was found missing. The husband left home for work at around 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's unclear what time she had been attacked and how long she had been unconscious. On March the 3rd, in the Muldersdrift area, that is just to the west of Johannesburg, an elderly gent was outside looking for something in his car when he was accosted by 4 unknown suspects. He was taken inside the house, where he was tied with electrical cord and beaten with a rock on his skull. His head was then covered so that he could not recognize his attackers, and they spent 4 hours ransacking his house, fleeing with valuables worth over 150,000 rand. They left him bound and alone, and after struggling to free himself, he drove to the SAPS. There he made a case but refused treatment at the hospital, and a paramedic was tasked to treat his injuries on scene. At around 1:30 on the morning of March the 13th, on the outskirts of the city of Centurion, which is a city just to the south of the capital of Pretoria, the couple woke up to noises, and the husband reacted and went to go and investigate. As he went down the passage, he must have encountered one of the intruders, who directed him back into the bedroom. According to his wife, his hands was in the air as he retreated back into the bedroom. Their 12-year-old daughter reacted to the commotion, storming out of her room. The perpetrator must have gotten a fright, loaded a firearm, and fired 3 shots which hit the teen in the leg and foot. Their 16-year-old son, who slept downstairs, tried to defend the family using a heavy object to deter the intruders, but he was struck in the chest with a blunt object and told to lie still. Neighbors were roused because of the shots, and the attackers fled. The 12-year-old was admitted to the hospital for surgery to remove bullet fragments from her foot and to repair internal damage to the limb. We head out further west to the area of Leeupoort, which is close to the East Driefontein mine, where on March the 20th at around 9:30 in the morning, the man and his workers were business as usual in the small laundry that they operate when suspects entered the business and assaulted the owner. Workers were tied up and forced into a storeroom. Suspects demanded money and gold. The owner gave his wallet with all the contents. 3 shots were fired but fortunately missed. Paramedics were summoned and treated the injured on scene, including the man who refused to be hospitalized as he wanted to stay with his family and workers. Still in the Leeupoort area, on March the 24th, at around 9 o'clock in the evening, the Moelman family was attacked by 8 intruders. Dani, the family head, was shot multiple times in the chest, abdomen and arms. His son was also shot and his wife and daughter-in-law brutally assaulted. Mrs. Moelman was burned in the face with boiling water and her daughter-in-law was indecently assaulted with a firearm while being threatened with her life. Items of value looted but not specified. Loot was loaded into the victim's vehicle and the perpetrators fled. The vehicle was later found with loot still inside. The police were called and was on scene until late. All members were seriously injured and taken to hospital in Carletonville. Dani Moelman is still recovering in hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. At around 6 o'clock in the evening on March the 17th at the farm Welgewonden near the town of Colini, Diani van der Berg was alone on the farm and was on her way to the stables to feed her horses when she was attacked out of nowhere by a single perpetrator wielding a steel pipe. She was struck repeatedly and sensed she had to fight back if she was to survive. When one of the blows caused her to collapse on the ground, she turned on her back and on the ground and started kicking her attacker in the groin. He realized he was not going to accomplish his mission and fled into the maize field. She made it home and summoned for help. Farmers from the area mobilized and drones were deployed to aid in the search. The police reacted very slow, but they had K9 on scene, but rain prevented the use of the dog. The search was called off as heavy rain washed away all spoor. The woman was rushed to hospital for treatment of her injuries. On the 30th of March, during a patrol in the Pond area near Carletonville, the police noticed a suspicious vehicle and approached the vehicle. The occupants of the vehicle jumped out and ran away, and they traced the vehicle back to a small holding. They drove there and they found an 80-year-old man bound and severely assaulted. He was hospitalized and the investigation continues. On the 29th of March, just outside the town of Brits at the Marlena Agricultural Holdings, which is also close to the Silkaardsnak area, a female victim was attacked after the perpetrators breached the house by force. They held her at gunpoint and took cell phones and laptops. We move over to the Limpopo province, where on March the 2nd on Elim Road, which is close to the town of Lutrigard, an elderly man was assaulted outside his house on his farm. His wife heard his screams and she notified the farm watch. Perpetrator shot at him, but the firearm failed and he was unhurt. Services responded quickly and the perpetrators fled the scene. The woman was in shock and the man was taken for treatment. When you suspect trouble, one of the first steps that you can make is to retreat to a safe zone and prepare yourself or arm yourself. Or, in some cases, what happened is you can launch an offensive against your attacker. That's always a step in the right direction. Now, what happened on March the 16th was one of the two. That was around 2 o'clock in the morning when Cindy van Dyk was up late doing paperwork when she heard footsteps in her house. She went to investigate thinking it was one of her children, even though the family dog was incessantly barking. She encountered an unknown male suspect inside the house carrying what looked like a firearm. She retreated to the safety of her room with the suspect following her. She closed the door and with a licensed firearm discharged several shots. The perpetrator fled empty-handed, and after the attack, a toy pistol which the attacker might have used, as well as a screwdriver used to pry open the door, was found in the house. On March the 21st, in the Waterberg area at around 9 o'clock, dog was barking and the farmer armed himself and went out to investigate. A single assailant stormed him with a panga and the farmer opened fire, critically wounding the perpetrator. Security networks were contracted and the scene secured. A search for more perpetrators were conducted. Finding no additional spoor, it was deducted that the intruder operated on his own. Still in the Limpopo area, early morning on March 25th at the farm Waterval in the Valwater area, shots were fired at the compound on the farm. Workers called the owner of the farm. The official report stated that the victim was asleep when unknown suspect breached his dwelling by force. He was shot 3 times, twice in the right leg and once in the arm. The suspects demanded money and he told them where it was stashed inside a steel trunk. They looted 50,000 rand in cash and cell phones, fleeing the perpetrators behind the door to the dwelling with wire from the outside. He was later taken to the clinic by a family member and later transported to hospital in Monimoli. His wife was unharmed. This is the one death for the Limpopo province. Now, people might question me if I say I don't want to admit a farm murder yet, because we are not sure what the actual cause of death is in this case. The body of Jan Boshoff was discovered after the services complained that could not get access to his property where he stayed. But he stayed in the flat at the back of the main house and they had difficulty getting into the property because of excessive growth. Assisted by the farm watch, detectives entered the house. The door was found unlocked and the detectives found the lifeless body of the occupant in the bedroom. He was in the early stages of decomposition and there appeared to be an open wound to the skull. His fingers, early reports said that his fingers was chopped off and his face was bashed in, but that was not the case. The observation that was made that the fingers were damaged and that was attributed to not torture but rather animals starting to gnaw on the body. Police investigation into this matter is underway as the cause of death is not yet established. His vehicle was also stolen but was later found in a nearby township. Some of his firearms were recovered on that scene. The time of death is not determined yet, but he was last known to be alive on March 22nd. His health was deteriorated and his family got him a carer who was last at the dwelling on or around March 22nd before he had to go and collect his belongings needed for his stay at the property. He has not been seen or heard from since then. Around that same time, the farm watch had contact with the family who confirmed that they had contact with the man on that Sunday. The farm watch was particularly concerned about the firearms in the house. The case is under investigation. We move over to the Mpumalanga province, where on March the 4th in the Volksrust area at around 7:15 in the morning, Peter Eys had just done milking his cows and was opening the gates for his sheep to run out to pasture when he was approached by a single suspect. The suspect's intention was finding work, but when he said he had none, the perpetrator attacked him, beating him and kicking him when he went to the ground. The perpetrator fled on foot. On March the 11th at the Grootvlei Agricultural Holdings close to the town of Heidelberg, 2 armed perpetrators breached one of the 2 houses on the property. The security gate was forced open with a crowbar and a door was kicked in. The occupants woke up to the man being assaulted with a crowbar, causing wounds to the skull and a gash to his arm. The perpetrators searched for valuables while the man is kicked on the ground. They demanded money but fled only with a small amount of cash and cell phones. Upon investigation, the entry route was discovered through a hole in the fence where Muti was also found. Locks were cut on the way out and spoor was lost direction Grootvlei West on the R101. Now, for the international viewers, Muti is a type of medicine that is given to attackers by a witch doctor, and this is what they believe makes them invincible. And that's one of the reasons how they get the courage, let's say Muti courage as opposed to Dutch courage, that they get this type of courage to enter somebody's house and start bludgeoning that person with a heavy object. We move over to the Free State. I'm going to keep this one on the board because it's relevant to the attack methods during farm attacks in South Africa. The dogs were poisoned and the house was breached. Only the keys to the Land Cruiser was taken, and the cruiser was later found abandoned. And it was suspected that the intruders used a substance such as scopolamine during the intrusion, as the family complained of severe headaches the next day. Now you can go and research that, Google that, scopolamine. It is a derivative of the devil's breath flower, and it's got psychedelic properties. And using that during attack sort of just about hits everybody in the house out. And the next morning there is severe after effects. I mentioned earlier turning the tables on your attacker, and I sincerely hope that Claire Stephens will forgive me for using the caption, "Mad women disperse the ranks." And I think that is exactly what they might have thought when they just saw this vehicle coming dead at them, and they just had to flee for safety. That was what happened on the 12th of March at the farm Lawaaiwater in the Empangeni area. A normal day, getting ready for work and school. Claire was busy seeing to her daughter, and they were running a minute or two late. Andre took this opportunity to go down and open the gates to save them some time. As Claire drove toward the gate, she observed some 10 to 15 people at the gate. Andre was nowhere to be seen, but she soon picked him up on the ground, tied up. She decided to speed towards the crowd, horn blazing, and that caused them to disperse and flee. Andre managed to untie himself, and they rushed back to the safety of their homestead, and a case was opened. The gun case that was left on scene was later connected to a housebreaking incident a few farms away where a shotgun was stolen. The farm attack on March the 17th at Ingogo in the Newcastle area is actually a sort of a farm dispute which turned the wrong way. Because the farmer went and he investigated the building of an illegal structure on his farm when somebody that was at the illegal structure, or the family that was building the illegal structure, shot at him. A case of attempted murder was made and investigation is underway. Land disputes and property rights add to the growing tension in this specific area. The final case for KwaZulu-Natal was on March the 22nd at Waterloo. The security guard, whose work was to guard trucks on a neighboring farm, went out to investigate after observing 3 unknown men on the pig farm next door. He asked about their business there, and while he was busy speaking to the 3, 2 more suspects came at him from behind and opened fire, hitting him in both legs. Reaction Unit South Africa responded to a distress call, and when they arrived on the scene, the man was lying in the walkway at the pig farm. He was taken to the hospital for treatment. The Western Cape, with its majestic mountains and sprawling vineyards and pristine beaches, suffered 6 farm attacks and 3 farm murders for March 2026. The first one was on the west coast of the Western Cape, that is at Lambert's Bay, where Hugo Louw gave suspects a lift to an unspecified destination. When they got onto the vehicle, he inquired about the content of the bags they were carrying with them. They assaulted him and fled, leaving him for dead. West Coast Medical responded and he was treated by a doctor on scene. His condition became more critical as he was suffering from severe head trauma, and he was airlifted to Cape Town for specialized treatment. There was some speculation about this case, perhaps not within the definition, but the only one who could give clarification is still recovering. Now, at the time when they were treating him on scene, the perpetrators were actually not very far away, hiding in the bushes. They were later arrested and their bloody clothes gave them away. Red Roan Guest Farm in the Swellendam area, March 6. Perpetrators wearing balaclavas breached the guest dwelling and attacked an elderly couple visiting from the Netherlands. The The couple fought back and the perpetrators fled direction R60. Services were called and the traumatized couple were treated for minor injuries at the local hospital. March 14th, Justenburg vlakte Kraaifontein. 86-year-old female victim was home alone. She was attacked by 3 perpetrators, 2 male, 1 female, all 3 of them speaking Afrikaans. They treated her roughly by shoving her around and dragging her around the house. They took laptops and cell phones and other electronic devices. March 17th, on Meatvlei in the Wolseley area. Western Cape Reaction Unit was tasked to react to a farm attack. A family of 8, including a newlywed couple, were attacked when 4 perpetrators stormed into the unit, attacking the group with a mallet. 1 victim sustained a broken arm and had to be operated on to repair damage. Upon arrival, the victims were already hospitalized and there were signs of a violent struggle. The groom and his father-in-law sustained moderate injuries while resisting the perpetrators. The perpetrators also used knives to stab victims before tying them up and robbing them. The group was from overseas. Attackers fled on foot and injured victims were hospitalized. On March 25th, the cracks near Plettenberg Bay, a vehicle was spotted speeding on the R339 towards Uniondale and was flagged on WhatsApp safety groups. The vehicle was later found near Uniondale where it overturned, and the suspect tried to flee on foot but was soon arrested. The police dispatched somebody to the registered address and made the gruesome discovery of victims both with multiple injuries. Both Jane Luke and her husband Rolf were declared deceased on scene. The last of the 6 attacks and also the third and final of the 3 farm murders in the Western Cape occurred on March 29th at Rainbow Farm in the Overhacks area. Female victim was found lifeless in the house. There were signs of a struggle as well as violence. Services were called and she was declared dead on scene. That's all from me for March 2026. I dearly hope that nothing seeps through the cracks. Nothing more seeps through the cracks. It's been a very heavy month. If you are watching this part of the video, thank you for keeping up with me. It's not always that the true word about farm attacks and farm murders gets out into the world. I've been trying for the past couple of months and seems like we are busy succeeding. There are quite a few additional foreign addressees coming onto the list every month or every week, and we appreciate that. Living in South Africa is not easy. Living on a farm is not easy. It's never safe. And like I said in a video last week, that if I send the message out and ask, do you know anything about this, then I'm tense for the result that might come back that say another farmer has been attacked, another farm murder has occurred. It will continue to happen, but 5 murders are 6 too many for March 2026. Lastly, from this channel and also from the White Cross Monument, our condolences to the families that's lost loved ones for March. I will be in contact with most of you quite soon to discuss arrangements with regards to the cross planting at the White Cross Monument in September 2026, and then we can just get to know about each other. But I want to get the dust to settle first before I contact you. I've got some contact details here and there, but I'm not going to allow the dust to settle first. Take care, be strong, and thank you to the people that's following this channel. Thank you to the people that's supporting this channel, and also my foreign contacts that is distributing this video overseas. Thank you so much. You are really very much appreciated. God bless.